That is the new Renault Rafale, an SUV with a coupe roofline that's a rival to the likes of the Volkswagen Tiguan and even the Alfa Romeo Tonale. And that's because it's as sporty to drive, so they say, as it looks. Plus, it has an ultra high-tech interior. Is it going to take the UK market by storm? We're on the international launch in Spain to find out.
Priced from just over 38 grand and rising to over 44 grand for the top grade iconic Esprit Alpine that we have here, the Renault Rafale, which borrows its name from a stunning Renault-powered plane of the 1930s, is yet another 5-seater hybrid SUV promising low running costs for sensible family life. But this one also promises performance and handling to satisfy the lovers of driving. And you know what? This new this new Renault does have some very interesting tricks up its sleeve to make sure that it stands apart from the pack. And a lot of it's underneath. Although first, let's look at the stuff on top. At the front, it's got a really big Renault badge with this exploding grille. They are really common now on SUVs, especially from France. Renault is loving this. And then if you look at the side, there are a lot of familiarities with other Renault models of late. I mean, everything from the Clio to the Scenic has stuff like this, even the Symbios. And we've got some big chunky wheels on the side. These are 20 inches, but they are sat thankfully on some thick Bridgestone tyres, which should hopefully bode well for ride. As you can tell, this is an Esprit Alpine finished car, hence the really cool shade of blue paint. Let me run through it. This is where the design-led aspect of these SUVs comes in, because this has a coupe roofline. It maybe compromises on boot space, but it doesn't compromise on style, when everyone seems to be doing them. And I think Renault's doing a good job at it right now. Quite a lot going on down here, but it looks good. And this roof spoiler as well, I'm told, has both design and aerodynamic properties, hence why it actually, as you can see through it. It's a good looking car outside. And in the car, well, I have to say the design is lovely. That's because it's very familiar with other really nicely designed Renaults of late. So we've got a very familiar steering wheel here with very functional buttons on it, and they are proper buttons before you get upset about them being haptic. Look, we've even got proper switches as well. And you've got your button down here to change your drive mode. But let's talk about the digital stuff first, because the instrument cluster in these cars is really good. It's really clear. It fills almost all of the view you've got ahead in this black section. So it means it's very useful, but it's not cluttered. And then you've got this infotainment system, which is powered by Google, hence the Google Maps here. But that just means it works brilliantly well. It means it's fast to react. It means it's smartphone reactive, and it means that it's quite intuitive. I mean, you know, you don't really have to think too hard once you get the hang of it. But of course, a lot of us are just going to plug in our phones, or actually wirelessly connect our phones, so that we've got Apple Carplay and Android Auto via the Bluetooth. But crucially, what matters most in my books is the fact that the climate control buttons are all still manual switches. They're not knobs, so they're not the fastest to use, but they're pretty close. And I mean, I am boiling in the car right now, and all it takes is a few clicks of this. I wouldn't even have to look down to sort that, which is very nice indeed. Plus, there's a lot of room in this car. I mean, this is a left-hand drive machine, so the glove box is representative of left-hand drive cars, although I'm told it will be the same in right-hand drive cars. But for the usable space in the middle, well, you've got plenty. You've got good cup holders down here, a couple of USB-C ports to go with your 12-volt port down there. And then you can also slide this whole section forward to reveal more storage down there. Here is where you put your phone for your wireless charging, and it's also a nice place to rest your hand. This is, of course, an automatic, so you can theoretically do motorway miles like this. Big storage space down here as well. Not the deepest in the world. That's because this is a hybrid, so EVs obviously have a lot more room in the floor. This one doesn't. But, I mean, in terms of space, like you can see our water bottle down here is completely swallowed by the door pockets. It's good. It's generous. And you even get 4 controls for your window switches, so you don't have to press front and rear like you do in other cars. Volkswagen Harman Kardon sound system as well. Nice. As for the back seats, well, I have to say, this is a lovely place to sit and get my feet under there. Okay, I can't stretch my legs out, but I am pretty comfortable. I'll try and give you the side view there. So there's a small amount of angle in there, but you know, I'm taller than average and I fit okay, and there's loads and loads of knee room. Plus, even with this panoramic sunroof above me here, which is really nice, although I'm getting cooked by that thing today, well, it's just creating a really airy space and it's not affecting my headroom. I've got plenty above me. Plus, it's decently kitted back here. Firstly, I've got a net down here so I can store things, really generously sized door pockets. And then I've got a pair of USB-C ports to go with my 2 vents as well. And as you'll notice, while there is a foot tunnel, it's pretty low. So it's easy for passengers to either slide across or even for a middle seat passenger to sit here and have their foot fully fitting in there. And the seats are lovely as well. You've got this nice dotted finish. Now, this harks back to old Renault, so I'm really happy to see it. My old Renault Clio has this kind of dotted design, although it's with silver dots rather than blue ones. More usefully for every buyer in Britain is the fact that these seats now split in 3 parts. So firstly,
you can fold down this middle section separately, or you can take the whole bit down. So this is a proper ski hatch here, revealing the boot there. But if you're in the back seat, well, you can actually fold down this as is here. It's quite tough to do that on this one, but it's okay. And then, just like the Renault Scenic, if you lift up this section here, you actually gain an extra pair of USB-C ports. So you've got 2 here, you've got 2 there, and then you've got 2 there, plus you've got the wireless charging mat, and then you've got your 12-volt port as well. So theoretically, you could probably get an adapter with 2 there. And then if you look down here, well, this is exactly the same as what you get in the Scenic. You can fold this out and it can provide you a place to hook your smartphone. So you can either put your cups in here and then have a smartphone angled at you this way, or your passenger this way, or you can have it angled this way. Maybe you could have a tablet in the middle here. So if your kids in the back, teenagers, or if you're adults in the back and you just want to be entertained with some tech, well, you can mount it here. It's a brilliant place to sit in the back. Really, really nice. And your iCivics bars are in very easy reach. They're just there. Oh yeah, and before you ask, let me just show you the access here. Because the roofline does duck down, it is a little bit more snug than some cars, but actually they've done a really good job of keeping that pillar fairly angular, upright, that is. So climbing in is very easy, and because the car rides a bit higher, access is very easy indeed. Now, what about the boot? So the button's hidden down here, so automatic tailgate, of course, in this Esprit Alpine car. If I remove my, this is a good reference point. This is my travel size suitcase, so this can go, there's the bigger size you can get on your flight and take it into the cabin with you. So hopefully that gives you a reference. And as you can tell, this boot easily swallows it, no trouble whatsoever. You could get multiple ones of there in, or family size suitcases in. And while the roofline, of course, is angular, so you are losing your stackability, I guess, with suitcases, there's plenty of room going back there. Plus, if you need a bit more, this car doesn't do a great job of demonstrating it because it has a spare wheel, but in the UK, highly likely it's going to be that we're not going to get spare wheels, so you're just going to have more storage room down there as well, and the tools will fit in the center bit, and then you have space around the edges. You've also got a little bit of storage room down there as well, plus you've got a 12-volt port, so if you're powering, I guess, your trailer, or if you want to run something at the back of the car, that's going to be handy. Same goes for these hooks here, which I suppose you could hang your shopping off of. And then down there, that's going to be, if you get yourself a net, you can hook the net in. So this is a versatile boot. And of course, I mentioned earlier that those seats fold down in 3 parts. Now, if you thought the exterior looked like a Peugeot, well, thankfully the interior does have quite a few key differences, namely the fact that I can see very comfortably through the steering wheel and enjoy that digital display behind. Obviously, Peugeot's doing some things with its steering wheels at the moment. Renault's keeping it a bit more simple.
The ride on these smooth Spanish roads is good too, with strong body control and enough squidge in the suspension to soak up bigger undulations. Where the Rafale falls behind the comfiest cars, like the Citroen C5X and its trick suspension setup, is on the rougher surfaces and potholes. There, it can feel a bit fidgety and sometimes even a bit firm. It feels sporty, rather than luxurious.
There are, of course, very good reversing cameras as well. You get a 360 above view to go with the pretty high definition rear view. So you've got that, and the camera actually rotates with the steering, which is handy. 360 view, and then you've also got a slightly wider panoramic view. This is going to be handy, I suppose, if you're going through a car wash or a width restriction. And oh, you've got a fun little 360. And generally speaking, it's a nice, comfortable place to sit. I have to say, these seats are super supportive on my back.
When it comes to performance, the Rafale's clever E-Tech hybrid setup mixes a little turbocharged petrol engine with 2 electric motors, giving it 200 horsepower and the ability, so Renault says, to cover 80% of urban driving under electric power alone. Since the battery charges during braking and deceleration, and the powertrain self-charges, you never have to plug it in.
So if I just let the car slow back down to 50k and then I accelerate here, we've got a nice sort of a brief shove of electric, and then once the gearbox sorts itself out, you've got a smooth delivery of petrol power. So this is plenty quick enough.
Alright, I have to admit, by the end of the drive, the gearbox's tendency to click up to top gear to save fuel did mean any sudden requests for power were met with hesitation as it dived back down the gears in a panic. But drive more smoothly and the powertrain is nice and refined. And life's made even easier with the car's adjustable regenerative braking, which lets you one pedal drive. Honestly, it's one of the best systems out there.
Now, a cool feature that this Renault gets is with its 4-motion steering setup, so you've got all 4 wheels doing some steering, you can actually configure how reactive and how, I guess, effective the rear wheels are in your steering. So right now, we've got it set for agility, and the car, it steers nicely. I mean, it doesn't do any, you wouldn't get into this car thinking, oh, it's overly agile right now. It just feels like it's nice and pointy and keen to change direction. But if you were to switch its priority to stability, there is a noticeable impact on steering. It just feels like the steering rack and the steering ratio, or the response to the wheel, is a little bit slower.
So naturally that mode is best for motorway driving. In town, however, you'll want it as agile as possible, so the Rafale can show you its party trick, a turning circle that's the same as a Clio.
That is really good. Wow.
And for those who prefer to let the car do the steering, it can help you with that too.
Isn't that good? Not bad at all. It's not going to do that, is it? No. So it's punchy, handsome, and it's got a lovely interior, plus it's quite practical, but it remains to be seen whether this car will handle and ride on bumpy British B roads. We'll be finding out later this year, but for now, if you want to see what we think of one of its key rivals, click the video on your screen now.